All right, we're going to start digging back into this bottom end again. If you saw the first video, we got the back side of this all gutted out. So now we got to remove this magneto. I had this tool here. This is for Kawasaki's. I think it does some Yamahas. Normally you would thread that in. They're usually reverse threads, and then you tighten that down and it pops them off. These tools are super nice, but come to find out, on the older Kawasaki's like this, the inside of this is actually not threaded. The threads are actually usually very fine, but this absolutely has 0 threads. What they give you here is 3 holes here, so you got something to pull against. So the style I'm going to use, I had to pick one up, but this will come in handy for other stuff anyway. It's really a harmonic balancer and steering wheel puller. So I think this will work for this. It's got this shape here, and then you just put your bolts through. Comes with a few different size bolts, but I don't think any of them are going to fit this. I think this is an M6. In fact, I know it's an M6 now because I tried it already. That threads into there. So anyway, I'm going to get this out, and hopefully this works for us. The only problem I may have is I'm not sure if I'm going to have washers big enough, but I'm going to give it a shot. All right, we're going to take the original center bolt, and we're going to put that in there because we need something to push against. Thread it about halfway or so. These are the extra bolts that I bought. I found some washers. Get them threaded a couple threads. Now you're going to screw in your main bolt here, if that's what you want to call it. Try to get it centered right on that center bolt. It's got like a point on it, so it'll kind of dig into that bolt so it doesn't slide around. Make sure you got these bolts here threaded in enough, at least 3-4 turns anyway. You don't want to put a lot of pressure on this and then have one of those pop out. All right, so get an open-end wrench or something of that effect, socket, ratchet, whatever. Get that started. Get it snug at least. Have yourself a hammer handy. Once we get this tight, you're just going to give it a couple light smacks, and that usually breaks them free. This guy's been on here for a while, so I think I put some penetrating oil in there, but throw a little more in there. Oh, and you might have to jam something in there, keep that crank from moving up and down. I decided to go with my impact. If you have one of these, it'll definitely make the job a little bit easier. All right. I heard it pop, so I think we're going to be good. All right, so we're getting ready to split our cases now. So we have a bunch of bolts we have to remove. They're going to be 8mm. Looks like we got 1, 2. That guy's missing or broken. 3, 4. Remember, that guy's got a bracket on it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 10 or 11, something like that, 12. Anyhow, the most important thing is make sure you get them all, obviously, because when you go to split these cases, you don't want to have even one bolt hanging on. We have one here, again, that's broken or missing. Hopefully it's just missing. Maybe I have to clean up the threads a little bit. We'll see. This right here, I think, was for the guard. I'm going to fix that somehow at some point. I might have to cut this down and put a spacer there or something. I don't know. I'll worry about that later, I guess. At this point, we're going to go ahead and remove all those bolts. All right, so we're getting our case splitter out. This was made by Tusk. I think I got this on eBay, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong, but I think it was eBay. I get a lot of stuff on eBay. So they're not cheap. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was, I'm thinking more like on the $80 side. So they're not cheap, but if you're going to do this, especially if you're going to do more than one motor, it's definitely an investment. You're not going to split these cases without it. I guarantee you destroy the case. If you try to do it with screwdrivers or any other kind of method, it'll cost you more in the long run. And if you look at what it would cost to have this rebuilt by a shop, $80 is definitely on the cheap side. So definitely going to need one of those. I'm going to go ahead and get this set up, and we'll start splitting. All right, so there's our case splitter installed. You can see we just got the nuts tightened up on each one. And make sure that you're centered on the shaft. Looks like I'm a smidge off there, maybe. I might kick that over a little bit. So anyhow, once you have that all where it's supposed to be and you're sure you have all your bolts out, you can start tightening down on this center nut. You can use an impact gun. I usually like to start off with a wrench, an open-end wrench or whatever, just to kind of get a feel to make sure that nothing's binding. And you're going to pretty much steady as she goes. You want to make sure that the case is splitting evenly. If it starts going uneven, you might have to move some stuff around or something. Keep a rubber mallet or plastic mallet handy. It helps sometimes to give it a little smack here and there, and it'll start to separate. So, and definitely drain your oil, obviously, or you're going to have a big mess. You probably would have already had a mess at this point anyway, but this is drained because our outer case was cracked on this, if you saw the earlier video. So this thing is empty. So anyway, I'm going to start wrenching down on that and see what happens here. just a little bit at a time. Again, you want to make sure that it's splitting pretty evenly. It might not be perfect at first, but let's make sure it's moving all the way around. You can see how it's starting to split. Yes, and the motor is filthy. You should start off with a clean motor. But we're going to be putting this in a bucket of degreaser. We're going to be cleaning the entire motor, so not overly concerned. But yeah, you should start with a clean motor if you can. Not trying to set a bad example. But anyway, that's splitting evenly so far. So we're gonna keep going at it. All right, so at some point you'll kind of feel it pop free, for lack of a better term, and you'll see like your shaft over here, it's kind of like flush now. So that should be far enough where you can actually separate this now. So you can go ahead and start undoing your nuts. And again, you know, being careful not to pull this off really fast. You want to pull it off slowly and keep an eye on things. All right, so there's the first look at the inside. Everything stayed in one spot, so we're good to go there. We don't have to worry about any washers sticking anything so far anyway. So anyway, first look doesn't look too bad. I don't see anything standing out. Don't see any chipped teeth or anything like that. I don't see any rust or corrosion, which I didn't expect. Even though this thing lost most of its oil a while back, you know, the whole motor was still coated with oil. So, didn't really expect it to be rusted. Alright, so far so good. We're going to go through, we're going to start removing the guts and labeling everything, and then we'll start cleaning everything up and get a really good look at it. I'm looking for some of the remnants of that spark plug. Right now I don't see anything. I would imagine whatever fell on the bottom end probably got moshed up pretty quick. You can see some bits right there. So there's definitely some there, but I don't see any big chunks or anything. So anyhow, I'm going to start taking these out, and we'll get things cleaned up. Alright, so we're going to start by removing this gear assembly here. We have to start on the back side. And we have a snap ring right there we got to remove first. Alright, we're going to remove our pins for the shift forks. All right, as you can see, I'm marking these left and right, left shift fork, right top, right bottom. That means something to me. Basically, this is the orientation of the motor as I'm taking this apart. So when I'm putting this back together, I'll have it in the same orientation as this. So I know this came from my left. I know these came from the right. Kind of common sense, but I like marking everything. I explained that before. It's definitely can't hurt. So, and again, if you're new, this is your first time, or you're a hobbyist, definitely mark stuff. You know, again, as I mentioned a couple times already, look for washers sticking to something. You know, this is locked in with a ring, so we don't have to really worry about this side. So everything looks good. I put a couple wire ties on it just in case, so nothing slides off if it can slide off. So keep things together. Now we're going to remove these two screws. There's one there, one there. They're in there pretty good, so we're going to use our impact screwdriver. Okay, so at the risk of repeating myself here for probably the 5th time, you can definitely never look hard enough. There's that mystery washer that always seems to show up when you're taking one of these apart. I was just about done here, thinking about pulling the crank tonight as well. That way we'll be completely disassembled, and I look down and there's a washer. So this was sticking to something, so now I got to figure out where it came from. I don't want to guess. You know, could have been there, could have been on the other side, could have been, you know, who knows. I'll look back at the video. Hopefully I'll see it somewhere, but if not an issue. I got the book. I'll look at the exploded view and we'll figure out where this mystery washer came from. So again, can't say it enough. Look out for that kind of stuff. All right, so we're all disassembled now. Got all the gears out, got the crank out. Not sure what I'm going to do about this crank. I honestly don't think it's bad. I got a little bit of side-to-side play. I'm going to check the tolerance on that. I got nothing up and down. Got a little bit of surface rust there. Again, this thing sat for 15 years in the same spot, so but that should clean up with a Scotch-Brite pad or something. The bearings, I don't really feel anything crunchy or anything out of the ordinary. Got a little bit of a sound to it, but I don't think that's too much out of the ordinary. But if I can get these bearings for 50 bucks or something like that, I'll probably replace them. You know, I don't want to shortcut and have to take this thing all the way apart again. I mean, for 50 bucks, I'm not gonna do that. But a crank, I got to see if there's one even available, what they cost. You know, if it's $400 for a new crank, like I said, I really don't see anything wrong with this. You know, again, maybe replace the bearings, but I'm going to see what's out there. You know, again, if I can get one for a couple $100, it might be worth it just to, you know, cheap insurance, replace it. But we'll see. Undecided. I'm going to look into that a little bit more, check through all the gears. Going to clean all these cases up, and we'll see what we got. But that's it for this video. That's basically the full disassemble of the bottom end.